one Tom E. Curran. Tom, how are you?
I appreciate you people submitting all the evidence necessary for my case and my client.
Yeah.
I've been listening, and you've made a tremendous case for my guy, who I do not need to prove innocent, merely not guilty.
So I'll let these guys ask you about Matt, because I want to just follow up on something we were just talking about, because I think the offensive line has been atrocious the last 2 weeks. Were they atrocious the first 6, 7?
They had, and I was listening. Yeah, they had multiple moments. I mean, Mac, in 2 games out of 3 at the start of the year, couldn't meet with the media because he gets accordioned. He got drilled against Miami on a 4th and 3, and he injured his back. Obviously, we know the Trent Brown mistakes, but they weren't that great then. And the reason Marcus Cannon came in to back up and eventually replace Wynn was because in the Green Bay game, even with Old Bailey in there, he was able to win, get Brian Hoyer severely concussed, and then take penalties and holds immediately on Bailey Zappi's first couple of snaps. So it has carried through. The only thing that has benefited them is ineptitude from the other offense, never putting them in a position to have to come from behind. That's the biggest benefit.
Yeah, and not to just jump ahead to the schedule. When you look at that, some of the teams that you're going to play, could that complementary style of football, like field position football, hopefully the other team's offense sucks too. Is that something that's listen, that's what he's talking about. I feel like that's gonna have to be part of your game plan moving forward.
How do you get to 24 points? Basically, that's what you're going to need to beat these teams. They put up 26 the other day, shoot off the confetti cannons, but 6 of them came on a block punt after a 2-yard drive, and the other came on a pick 6. So it was 1 touchdown drive.
Yeah.
And it's 4 touchdown passes for the year, and there's 5 touchdowns in Mac's 40 drives since Baltimore. 5 touchdowns and 40 drives. It's not good enough.
So, Tom, you said something earlier this week, it might have been Sunday, about what this offense would look like if a different quarterback was under center, and that was Tom Brady. That you think that the offense that we saw Sunday wouldn't have looked that much better with Tom Brady. I guess my question to you is, with all the things surrounding Mac Jones right now, how does he get his head back above water, or just kind of tread water and get back to somewhere to where he was last year, the quarterback he was for the first 12, 13 games last year?
It has to start with the level of protection that he's not getting. Somehow they have to figure out how it's not a jailbreak. Now, maybe opponents can do that. You go against, Forrest Buckner and Quinnen Williams in back-to-back weeks with James Ferentz as the anchor of your offensive line, and Cole Strange perhaps hitting the rookie wall and needing to be subbed out for somebody who's already been benched in Wynn. That's a terrible recipe for success. So before we can actually get my client, Mac Jones, and start submitting evidence against him, you people need to make a case that he's gotten enough protection to actually cobble together some sins on his own.
What's this, people? There's really only 2 people.
I'll play part of the prosecution here, Tommy. Let me play part of the prosecution. Right now, Mac Jones on quick throws at 2.5 seconds or less to get rid of is the worst quarterback in the league. His QBR, I believe, is 16. So I would question him actually reading defenses. And I would even go back to the end of last year. I don't know how small of a sample size is. It's almost 50-50 in his career at this point when it comes to games. Does he read defenses? Does he know where he's going with the ball when he sees what's lined up across from him?
I cannot imagine, Lou, that he has lost the capacity to do that, because that's basically the main reason he was the 15th overall pick. When we watched in training camp in 2021, the first time they started doing red zone, Christian, they start the training camp with that, really in shells sometimes doing that. And Mac was a friggin' computer. And Cam just stood there and pat, move his feet, throw it off the crossbar. And I said, it's going to take this kid no time to take over because he's so quick. To me, it's a personnel thing, and we really have glossed over it. And it's like, hey, Ramondre Stevenson's really versatile. He can be a third down back too. Great. He can catch the ball. Where's the water bug? Where's the James White, the Shane Vereen, the Edelman, the Amendola? And again, Jacoby Myers is running in the slot, but he has a different kind of skill set and operation. Well, looking last week, there was and we were obviously all watching it together, and there was a third down play, 3rd and 5 or something, and I think it was Adam Archuleta was saying, well, they just ran 3 verticals, and there was no crosser. There's nobody to go too short, which is a tremendous recipe for disaster with James Ferentz and Cole Strange out there struggling. So I go back to the architect of the offense, who's also splitting time as the offensive line coach. And the common denominator, sadly, is a guy who got strapped to the tracks by his head coach. It's Matt Patricia.
I know, but the architect, it's not going to be a straight
I'm
angle
guessing
anywhere
he's
in
your.
that house.
I'm guessing he's your first witness defense.
He would be. I would call. Yeah.
Prime witness?
I would call Matt. I'm going to put Matt up there. I'm going to have my own guy. He's going to testify, but he's going to be under oath, so he's going to have to spit out some names.
So okay, so we saw
That would be
like
fantastic.
we saw your awards and stuff that you gave out, and we were kind of doing something similar yesterday. I'm curious, like the guy that let you down the most. I think it's Jonnu Smith. I'm not exactly sure how you titled it, but is of all the guys that are like underperforming, who's the guy that can actually change his ways over the next 8 weeks?
Jake Bailey just hit the ball with the middle of your foot one time.
What is
yards.
his problem?
7 yards, Tom.
I don't know. I mean, he was an all-pro punter. Now he is averaging 42 with like a 35 net. When he was the all-pro punter 2 years ago, it was 48 and 45. He's got as many touchbacks now as he did in that entire 2020 season. I don't know what happened. So he would be an easy fix, but
Hold on, just real quickly though. I hate to cut you off, but doesn't he have to fix it? Doesn't he have to fix it though, Tom? Because we were discussing like just the way they're going to win games is like legit complimentary football. Hey, change field positions. We need our punter to save our ass. Defense, they need to play defense with a long field, right? Like he has to figure it out.
When you spend all that money on coverage guys and all that time recruiting coverage guys, because you understand, as the Patriots do, that special teams is kind of the coin of the realm for you, and your guy's kicking it off the facade to his left, that undoes not just himself, it undoes the entire punt team. I'm not saying he's going to have a 7-yard punt in crunch time, but there have been too many gaps, so he has to be better, no doubt. But I think that at this point we've got a long enough sample size with Jonnu that, again, I wonder if it's his fault or they just bought something that they didn't know how to use.
Tom, going back to the architect you pointed out, Matt Patricia, during this bye week, is there any possibility we see more dramatic moves in terms of how coaches are divvying up the workload? Because to your point, what's struggling with this team, the offensive line and the offense itself, you can point directly to somebody having to do 2 full-time jobs.
Right. And I think that the only person that could be tabbed to do more would be Bill Belichick, where he just says, Matt, we took a run at it, and now we got people calling out our plays, and it's not your fault, but we got to do something differently. I mean, what muddies the waters is the injuries. Does that strap them in terms of being able to be sophisticated? Does that strap them in terms of being able to do things that they would otherwise do? But Lou, I listened to you make the point. It's a great one. They don't put up any window dressing, no RPOs, no play action, no motion. Now they've added some as the season has gone along, but all these other teams and defenses, as we know, improve as the season goes along. The Patriots are still in late August on November. They are in late August trying to figure out during the bye week with a wave of the wand, this is what will be now. It's too late.
Yeah, we're talking to Tom E. Curran, NBC Sports Boston. You're right. We were wondering if what they did exactly did at RPOs in training camp. Like at one point, wondering exactly what they did. So we were just listening to Dante Scarnecchia on the Patriots podcast of yours, talking about sitting with five. With Phil.
That was Phil.
Oh,
next pass. Yeah.
Okay, Phil Perry.
Okay.
Sticking with 5 guys. We expect Andrews to be back. Who are the 5 guys? Like if Andrews is back, like who is your 5 offensive line, and should he just stick with them and try to get some kind of continuity?
Stick with them. Yeah.
Who are they? Who are they, though?
Brown is on the left.
Yeah.
Onwenu's on the right. Somehow somebody has to have an intervention with both Wynn and Strange. I mean, that's...
So you're saying Onwenu at right tackle?
100%. Leave it alone.
Do they do that?
Or move him to left guard, so you have at least one side of your offensive line between Brown and Wenu and. But then you range and you put Wynn next to Yudnik adjust. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It's crazy that all this flipping and theorizing what might be the best is where they are. I think with Cole Strange, he's definitely hit the rookie wall. He had, as Phil talked about today, they talked earlier in the year, and he came into the league at 295, and he's having trouble keeping on the weight. He's a pretty well-conditioned guy. He's not a heavier offensive lineman. So he's having a hard time keeping on the weight, and he's probably got a confidence issue now after getting ragdolled last week. Wynn obviously is in his own head, and even though Scarnecchia is saying, look, he's going to be okay, you just have to do X, Y, and Z, it's too long a sample size and too great a sample size to say he's going to get better. It's just too much bad stuff.
Oh, you still there?
Hope against hope that things
Okay.
get better.
All right, so real quick,
Yeah,
I just know you broke up for a second there. All right, so last thing before we let you go, do they make the playoffs? Right? Is this the push that makes it happen? Do they figure out a way and win at least 4 of the last remaining 8 games? That will give them they'll be above 500.
I think they're too far gone. I look at games like the Raiders, and we see the success of former coaches against the Patriots. I look at games against Kyler Murray, who's a dual-threat quarterback that they've struggled with. I look at teams like the Bengals. I mean, that could be a game at home late that they do well in, but I think it's streaming directly toward what I anticipated, which is an 8-9 season. It's more fun when they make the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Tommy. Listen, we appreciate the time. Appreciate the time, buddy. Maybe I'll see you over there tonight.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
Later.
Thanks, Tommy.